Hello everybody, how are you doing? I just had one of the most wonderful meal last night, and this morning I decided to sketch some of the stuff I took, well, at least from a photograph I took, and make a sketch out of it, and I'll walk you through. I'll leave some of the photograph in the description below so that you can also sketch oven bird if you like. I'll start with the chopstick holder. This is the little cat that that held my chopstick. Little cute stuff, and then I'm gonna sketch some of the dishes and also a little scene. Jeff was sort of being mob. Let's go. I like to jump around a lot where I sketch something, put a bit of color and then go draw something else. Part of the reason, and this is very important, is to learn patience. And because watercolor is a medium that requires a lot of patience, you have to wait for the water to dry. And I think in Singapore, where it's a bit humid, it may take a little bit longer to dry as compared to some of the more dry weather where you might be from. Let me just show you a little bit of Jeff's place. It's called Ovenbird. Some place near City Gate in Singapore.
Never mind whether they are senior partners at the law firm or
That's Jeff. He was a really entertaining chef because not only he filled our tummy, but he actually filled our mind with very interesting stories. He knew a lot about the sourcing of his ingredient, and I think that's really one of the secrets of his restaurant. You can see that my intention today really is just to dump a bunch of sort of related objects, food, chopstick holder, bottles, a scene from the restaurant, and this would be sort of sketching to remember a piece of memory, if you like. I mean, the whole idea is really just to capture a slice of memory and put it on my sketchbook. It's a little bit like a journal. Maybe I'll write a little haiku and I'll read that to you at the end as well. The idea really is just to draw from my photograph, and that allows me to repeat, in a way, put those images again in front of me in my mind's eye, and strengthened my memory. As I age, I hope to improve my memory as well, and not get into dementia. Well, I guess if you practice or you use your memory and use your mind a little bit, it might slow down, memory loss. That's at least how I think about it.
The weather has gone a bit schizophrenic. So on the same day, you can see 4 seasons. Actually, this fish is not a large-scale blackfish. Saddest name you ever named a fish because it's black. Okay, this next course is a chawamushi. So use your spoon. Yeah. I know it looks as if it's like floating with squid, but no, the squid is just sitting on the chawamushi.
The good thing about sketching from photograph also is that you have the liberty to design your sketch however you want. You could also in some ways design your color scheme however you want, and so you have a lot more liberty, a lot more creativity that you can impose on the sketch, from design to color scheme to line work to placement of your objects and so on and so forth. Give it a try if you have not tried it. I mean, take a whole bunch of photographs from an event, look through the photograph, think of how you would put all the objects onto your page, and then kind of sketch it to make it memorable, to make it interesting, and those are sort of an approach where I use often when I want to sketch a bunch of stuff from an interesting event that I want to remember. And of course here, as I look at the various sketches, I'm thinking in values, I'm thinking in line shapes, form, all the elements of sketching. Now, if I have not mentioned this, my book is still on offer at the moment. You can look at the description below where I'll give you a coupon for discount.
Today the chawamushi is a Japanese Brussels sprout from Shizuoka. They call it Meikia Betsu. Thin reeds wind. That's closer to summer. And
like I said, Chef Jeff really knew his stuff. He was describing different fishes, animals, and vegetable and plants on different seasons, and they were just amazing stories about how he optimized and also when you should eat what. Those are amazing stories. As you can see here, I'm just basically, putting on shadows and also putting separators between shapes. If you look at the bottles, I'm trying to separate the shapes, front and back, primarily with shadows. I mean, you can use shadow or backdrop to separate the shapes. Sometimes while I wait for the paint to dry, I would do something like writing the date or my name, or maybe writing a poem, or doodle some thoughts onto the sketch. But that's kind of a way of being patient, waiting for the paint to dry. Here I continue to draw the crowd. They were crowding around Jeff as he was explaining what he was doing, the stories of how he get his ingredients from Japan. We were just crowding around him, and they were video taking, and basically we were just a bunch of groupies. After a celebrity chef, if you like. He was really interesting. I mean, the story he told was really, really good. And I think that's just one of the thoughts that I had. In whatever you do, if you were to take your craft with a lot of details, with a lot of passion, and you invest in learning, the stuff that makes you good at. In this case, his cooking, his Japanese, cuisine, if you like. He has never really learned it from anybody. He's a self-taught chef, but he has sold out pretty much for 2 years. He'll be opening his basically his website for booking in July, and I think it will be pretty much booked almost immediately. That's how good he is. But when you listen to his story, you realize the passion and the amount of work and the amount of knowledge that he's gathered. That just goes to show why he is successful in what he does, and also, and why the food tastes so delicious. It is almost a science, and it's repeatable, and he knows it. And I want to say that it is almost the same. Well, actually, it's the same with sketching. I mean, a lot of people just thought that how difficult it is just to put some lines on a sketchbook. They don't really put time to learn, not understanding things like, basically the element of design, or, have no intention to design their sketches, or they have no understanding of color theory, or, they don't really understand how shadow plays a trick in the way we define form on the sketch. There's no learning, and there's just no advancement in their head. So sketching is just basically doodling, and that's it, right? Forever they just stay at that level. I mean, you could enjoy sketching at that level. I don't think that's a problem. But just like a 2-year-old who eventually needs to grow up, and if you really want to enjoy your sketch, you do need to put in a little bit of effort in learning the theories behind what makes design good, or what makes a good design, right? And that's really, I think, one of the difference between a good sketcher and a great sketcher.
10.5 kilo.
I'm not environmentally.
Here, Jeff was explaining how the fish in Japan are caught, loaded, stored, and why it's on one side. So apparently in Japan, they leave the fish on the right side, and that really sort of put the right side of the fish a little bit softer, and all the whatever science that comes with it. I can't really explain, but it gave me an impression that when you cook the left part of the fish or the right part of the fish, it makes a huge difference to the way you treat it, and the way you would cook it, and how long you will cure it, and so on and so forth. And the way he explained why he do certain things was just amazing. I think that's really part of the reason why he could actually make the food so delicious. And he count the number of days he cured the fish to the number of days he knew exactly how many days he's cured the fish. In this case, I think the dish that we're gonna have, it was something like 12 days being cured. And there were reasons why he did that number of days, and so on and so forth. Plus the fact that he has to run a restaurant, and so he has to calculate in the days that we get the different part of the fish, and so on and so forth. Today's sketch was taking me a long time because the dinner was last night on a Saturday night, and Sunday morning it was pretty busy. I had to ferry my wife to church, and then I had to take Cassie off for a walk while I wait for my wife. She wasn't going for the service in the morning. We attend evening service. The morning she had something to do in church, so I went off with Cassie, and then I was sketching in a restaurant somewhere while having my coffee, and all the time it was raining, so I had to juggle a whole bunch of stuff. So actually today's sketch took me slightly more than 1 hour. It's unusual, but it also kind of felt that I put in a little bit more effort in the lines, a bit more effort in the sketch, a little bit more care in the way I laid the wash, and so on and so forth. I think sometimes you have to observe your own state of your heart or mental state, if you like. You could observe that there are times you are careful, sometimes you're careless. So here I am back at home. So I sketched halfway at the restaurant, and then I went to pick up my wife, and then I went back home to finish up the rest of the sketch. So you could see the background, and it's kind of different. I'm back at the balcony where I usually do my sketching in the morning when it's not so hot, and I'm just sitting on the table and I'm just sketching away. So you could see that I have started to put in a bit more of the yellow and orange and so on, but the sketch is kind of coming together in some way. I'm not going to give you a lot of details around the technicality of the colors I use and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of videos I've done, in the past that covers that. But today I just want to kind of tell a little bit of story of how this sketch came about. It's really a sketch to remember a lovely evening with friends, over a meal that was made by Chef Jeff at Oven Bird, and it was an amazing experience. What I learned was a little bit more than just satisfied tummy, but the fact that somebody was taking the craft so seriously, being very successful, sold out, very hard to get a slot for the dinner, and the way he described and the way he could basically tell the story really amazed me. And I want to transfer that to sort of how am I exercising my art or practice my craft. Am I as detailed? Am I as passionate? Am I as knowledgeable? And how do I go about learning all those things that I need in order to get my craft to the next level and to the next level? And it's sort of a way of reflecting, if you like. And I really enjoy that evening, as you can tell. And I just want to tell you and pass on this thought as well. The final parts of the sketch, I'm beginning to sort of splatter, do more texturing, used pen to redo the lines that may have gone missing because of the opaque watercolors. I'm using a empty fountain pen here to put in some of the ink. I wasn't very successful with that, unfortunately, so I had to resort back to just scribble with my the little nib brush that comes with the Opaque White that I use to make white markings. So as you can see, actually, it's a sort of practiced reflection or thinking about the memories of last night, if you like. And you get to relive good memories twice. Once in real life, in real person, and the second time when you're sketching it the next day or later on. I always say that artists should never go hungry, so I don't believe in sketching the food and it becomes cold, or the food becomes not as intended in terms of temperature or the texture and so on, because if you leave the food over a bit of time, like 30 minutes, it may not taste the same as it should, right? Especially when it's made by such a incredible chef. I really want to taste it as it comes, and as it lay in front of me, I'll just want to eat it, right? It is true that the hardest process in sketching is how to start, and the second hardest is to know when to stop. So, one of the questions as I progress in my sketching, I am always constantly doing edits or looking at the sketch, and I'm saying, is this part readable? Meaning, when someone look at the sketch, do they see it as a bottle, as a glass, as human figures, as strawberries, as a piece of fish, as a bunch of squids, a ceramic bowl? Are the shadows believable? Are the three-dimension form that I'm trying to depict, is it visible and simple to the mind of the reader? So that's what an evaluation, and that's kind of constantly going through my head as I'm sketching. And I think as you sketch, you should do likewise. You should be thinking about how the lines, the shape are, what information are you giving to your audience. And in this case, I also think of not trying to be too detailed with too many too many lines, if you like. I like to hint. There's a certain amount of pleasure where your audience sees some things, and because of the hint, they could extrapolate to the rest of the shape or the rest of the sketch to make up what it is. So if you say too much, it becomes a distraction, and it becomes somewhat of a failure to appreciate your audience, intelligence. You don't want to insult your audience basically by giving too much information. While you give enough hint, and then you make them work to understand the rest of the sketch. And if they can do that, there's a certain aha, a certain eureka in their mind. There's a certain pleasure of viewing your work. In other words, hint is more pleasurable than giving the full detail in all its goriness, if you like. In all its gory detail, right? So hint. So we're getting a bit too long in this video, so I'm conscious of that. I'm just trying to wrap it up in that sense. So now I'm really going through with my Copic Opaque White and just going through bits and pieces of highlight where I've lost the highlight, or maybe doing a bit of a shape separation with white. Especially if I put in two dark shapes together and I want to separate the shape, I use a very thin white or gray line, and I kind of make that as a space or shape separator. And I'm also going back with my fountain pen with ink to redraw some lines which I think that's needed, or just maybe use line to create form. If you see the parts of the ceramic bowl that contain the squid, I'm using little lines to depict the shape of the ceramic bowl in that sense. So here it goes. This is the final sketch. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This is We Take. Peace and out. Stay safe wherever you are. Bye.